Oh, my hair's getting so long in quarantine. And when you're in quarantine, something fun to do is to visit old friends. I'm not talking about acquaintances, people. I'm talking about movies. Specifically, a movie that I remembered and decided to watch. It's a zombie film, and it's a necessity. It's an essential. I met this film the old-fashioned way. Nowadays, I find most of them on the computer, but this one I actually met at a store. I went into the Suncoast Video and saw this and bought it. I saw the cover art and I thought it was worth paying 20 bucks. It was not, but I have it now. It's called Oasis of the Zombies. Now, Oasis of the Zombies is an interesting idea that I haven't seen redone. Personally, I haven't seen this done again, and that is zombies in the desert. It's a spooky place. The desert can be eerie at night. So, yeah, I suppose there's apparently an oasis. They filmed this in the Canary Islands, and everyone's got a fez, so I'm getting the sense that we're supposed to feel that this is in Algeria, maybe? Or Tunisia. This is not like Egyptian. This isn't Arabic. This is somewhere else in North Africa. Now, this film was directed by a guy named Jess Franco, or Jess Franco. The weird thing is that in the movie it says a person named A.M. Frank directed it. I don't know if they're a woman or a man, much less why their name would be in the title credits, but yeah. So it's credited to someone named A.M. Frank, but we all know it was Jess Franco. This film, it's Italian. Well, no, kind of. I don't know. there's different versions in French and Spanish. They made it in all different languages. Everybody kind of looks like they're from Italy, even the people who are from Africa that are, they're dark, but still, you look in their blue and green eyes and you're wondering, It has a good soundtrack. I gotta say, this movie has a killer soundtrack that was made for it. I don't recall exactly who the sound person was, but it's got a lot of bongos and a lot of guitar and a lot of flute stuff going on. It's got a really nice soundtrack, so I'll give it that. It's very atmospheric. This film generally is found in its 4:3 cut, but actually there is a full 16:9 version of this that's actually in fairly good condition. So I would definitely look for that one if you're going to watch it. Also, if it makes any difference, look for the Spanish version because that's got extra scenes. Let's start off at the beginning of this film. Where do we start? We have a cold open, okay? We start out at the Oasis. It has a long, weird-sounding name. I'm not even going to try. And we meet two girls. We don't find out who these girls are. And maybe they said their names. I don't care. The point is, these guys are characters, and you're going to remember them. One of them is wearing a kind of like a little red top, little half top. She's wearing some really short shorts that are jeans that are kind of cut off, and no underwear. And I know that because I can see her cooch straight through her pant leg. I can fucking see her vagina. When she gets out of the car, she's not even doing Britney Spears thing. She just kind of shifts a little, and I'm like, there's her birth canal. It's just ridiculous. Like, you could never walk around in pants like that. At least not without wearing some underwear. And she's pretty, we're interested. We're like, okay, we want to see how her story develops. She has a narrative, she's building on it, and it starts in her crotch. And her companion, well, she's cut from a different cloth. She's white, but she's kind of on the darker side. I can't really tell if she's over tanning or if she's Brazilian or something. Oh, and she also has blonde hair, but I know that that's not her real hair color because she has a mustache on her face. That it's clear as day, clearer than the one on my face. And it's black. She's got like Salvador Dali thing going on, man. I mean, you could see it. So, that one girl, she shaved it. I see that. This girl, she didn't shave it. These guys are an interesting pair. And they've driven through the Oasis in a Jeep. They park. I need to point something out here, and I'll just say it now because for the rest of the movie you're going to keep seeing it. They have done something really weird to the license plates. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's like someone went on there with a Sharpie and kind of doodled on the numbers and the letters. I'm not even sure what the point of it was. They just went and they fucked with all the license plates. Every single time you see a license plate, someone has fucked with it in some weird way. And honest to God, man, for paying so much fucking attention to this, like tiny little detail, there's no attention paid to pretty much anything else, including that chick's mustache. One of the girls wants to look around. She wants to go see what there is to see in this oasis. And the other girl's like, I don't feel like it. I think that this place sucks, and I think you're fucking crazy. But you know what? I'll take a walk anyway. So they get out of the car, they walk around, and they're looking at things, they're hearing things. The thing is, the zombies make kind of a weird noise, and they only do it when they're approaching. These zombies don't make this noise while you can see them. So they start hearing it, and they're like, whoa, there might be zombies in the vicinity. I don't know what we should do. And they look around. One of them thinks this is really funny for some reason. The other girl's like, I have to run. I have to leave. I have to get back to the car. She turns and she starts running, again, for no reason. I mean, it's spooky, but what is she running for? She's running at like full speed all of a sudden. She has to get out of there. She runs up to something. I say she runs up because she stops very explicitly, like a train coming to a slow. Right before she stops, she's got to get into position because hands have to come up and grab her ankles! And that's the last time we see her and her mustache. She died! She decided to stop in just the wrong spot, and the hands popped up and grabbed her. Oh, and can I mention one other thing? The way they grab her, they come out like this. The hands come out like twisted. The zombie's grabbing her in a very weird way. So she gets flipped off her feet. That's the end of her. The other girl suddenly sees something she wasn't seeing earlier. Now we're getting it from the POV of the zombies, if that's what they are. And they're coming towards her, and she's like, ah! We cut away. And so already tourists have died at the Oasis. I'm going to let you know, someone must come and drive their car back to the hotel or something, because the next time we go to the Oasis, their car isn't in there anymore. I'm not honestly sure how this fits in temporally with anything else. It's just kind of to establish that weird things are happening at the Oasis. Now, we're going to go through the opening intro here. They decide that they're going to lay the music over a still frame of something, a city somewhere. I don't know. It's like a really grainy, blurry freeze frame. And again, great music. Oasis of the Zombies, A.M. Frank. Don't know who they are, but yeah. And then we go into the story. Now, there's a guy named Colonel Meitzel. Colonel Meitzel, he's an ex-German, like, colonel soldier. He doesn't look very old to have been commanding people in World War II, but he was. I mean, this film was made in 1981 or 82. Anyway, Colonel Meitzel. So he's up. He's livid, and he also, by the way, is feeling maybe a little guilty. I'm not sure. You see, he led a German commando in Africa. They were transporting gold! They were transporting gold from Tripoli to Benghazi. They were moving stuff, and no information about what this gold was or where it came from. We do know that it's worth $6 million, and that this convoy was intercepted at some point, and no one really knows exactly where for sure, except for a man, and his name is Blabbert. Sergeant Blabbert. Now, Mr. Blabbert, well, he's going to do some blabbing, and it's going to end up killing him. He was the American captain, or whatever, that ended up intercepting these guys, and it happened at this oasis. And Meitzel, he apparently doesn't know that. Nobody knows about it. Everyone knows to stay away from the Oasis because something terrible happened there. Everyone knows that this place is haunted and they know why. And for some reason, this Meitzel guy, the guy that actually was supposed to be commanding them, but I guess wasn't around, he doesn't know where it is. He's got to go talk to Blabbert. And so he goes and visits him in, again, Tunisia or wherever. And the guy is showing him on a map. And he's like, yes, you see, here's where the Ulavumboof Oasis is. That's where we intercepted them, and they all got murdered. It was a huge shootout. And me, well, I crawled away only half alive. I mean, I live by myself. Ah! Meitzel takes out like a pen or something. It's like an EpiPen, but it has death in it. And he sticks him in the hand, and he's like, ah! And that's all it takes, man. He's dead. He injected him with something. And now he's got the map. He knows where it is. Again, he could have asked anybody. Why did he have to kill him? Now, his son, Robert, he's living back in England, I believe, and he's at college. And he's with his friends. He's got a couple of them. And they all get word. They're like, your dad died. You're in charge now, man. You're the big boss with the big pants. And he's like, oh, gee, and my pants are white. I don't know if I want to get sand on them. And he's got friends and he's got tests he needs to take. So he's like, I'm going to go visit my father's study. I think his dad might have a study in England, too. I'm not really sure. He kind of just goes over there. And he's like, my dad, he left his journal out. And it's all about the Oasis and all about World War II. I better take a read. He sits down, he starts reading in his head. We're going to go into like a flashback here, and this is not a short flashback by any means. We're going to be in a flashback for quite a while. We need to find out, exactly what happened at this Oasis. We see footage of his dad approaching. By the way, his dad has not aged in 40 years. He looks the same back then as he did when we saw him a couple days ago. When he got stuck in the hand by Meitzel, like he was a scorpion or something, and killed him. Didn't look any different. So he's walking around, and he gets word from the locals that the Germans are terrorizing people. They're moving gold. And for some reason, they're coming back to this Oasis. They've been there, but they're coming back. He's like, oh, okay, well, cool. Then me and my boys will hide out in the Oasis. We'll build fences out of straw and sticks and other debris and hide behind them. Out in the desert, and oh, by the way, if you walk around in the desert, people are going to see your footprints. So there's footprints all over the Oasis, and there's weird, like, straw fences constructed all over the place now. But the Germans come waltzing on in, and they don't see anything amiss. Das ist gut. This place looks like, it's good for terrorizing, maybe. Or, maybe we'll just come sit down and camp. And we see their little caravan of vehicles coming in. And I'll give it to you that these are actually war vehicles. But I don't know if they're driving them correctly. It just... I don't know, when you're a tank, I feel like when you're going forward, that's the way the barrel should be pointed, not backwards towards everybody else in the line. The tank is just making sure nobody defects and drives off, I guess. And so, yeah, these guys are bad news, and they're coming on in. And they sort of set up shop, and they're getting ready to maybe cook up some bratwurst or Gershwitz. And then, as they're getting the schnapps ready, the captain gives the order. He takes out his pistol and fires. And immediately, like, it goes down, man. It's like the Valentine's Day Massacre. People come up with machine guns and, killing everybody! People are falling off of things, and there's no continuity. By the way, everyone's wearing the same kind of uniform. And I'll give it to them. I mean, they made uniforms for everyone. That's impressive. But it's all the same kind of uniform, so it's kind of difficult to tell who's on whose side. In the end, like, everybody dies. Everybody dies. And I gotta say that Blabbert does not come away from this with that impression that everybody under his command died, that he was the only one who lived. No guilt. He crawls off to the edge of the Oasis and... I don't know, falls into the sand and passes out. Everyone does that right here. And then some people come by. They've got some camels, and they're like, well, I guess we're bringing something else to the babe. And they stick him on the camel, and they keep going. And he wakes up, and he's in some town again. He's in, I think, Morocco. I have to think he's in Ashgabat. He's in a house. He's recovering. Oh, my head hurts. And goodness. Who are you? And there's this woman, and her name is Asha. I'm pretty sure she's Arab. Maybe? Her dad is some white dude with some bronzer on. It's some white guy with these piercing green eyes. It just doesn't look African at all. Yes, I am her father, Samud, Captain Blabbert. We found you in the desert, half dead as it were. Do you enjoy looking at my daughter, Asha? Yes, that angel took care of me. I really appreciate her help. Cut. Suddenly it's him, and he's drawing. He's drawing on a piece of paper. He's inside this little central garden area thing next to a fountain. Like, I live here now. I just hang out in their living room and read magazines and draw now. He's looking at something. He's like, it's Asha. And he's getting off on it, too. I mean, he's not just, doing like a caricature at an art fair. He's perving on her. He's like, ooh, yeah, I'm going to make those titties big. Her dad, Samud, is up there on the balcony staring down, and he feels good. Well, I never thought that my daughter would get with a white man. This could prove profitable. Can I keep that picture when you're done with it? At a certain point, they're chatting, and Blabbert tells him, he's like, I can't stay here for my entire life, oogling Asha all the time. There's a battle's coming, man. I'm watching the sky. There's planes. And so he says to Asha, I assume he says to her, we don't see this, but I assume he says, let's go take a walk out in the desert together. And they get out to the edge of a sand dune, and she turns around. Okay, stop. Remember, I'm a conservative girl. I'm Muslim, and I'm also really horny, and I want some of that sweet creamer. Take a look at these bad boys. She gets totally naked, except for her headscarf, because, just two things are occurring to me. The first one is, wow, have you guys noticed how many footprints there are in the sand dunes around you? How fresh they are? This does not seem like a private place out in the middle of nowhere. This seems like a risky spot. The thing, too, I would like to point out is that we can see two people over the ridge watching them. So we don't even really need to guess, I suppose, because we can already see that there are two people over there. And they have sex. We take it that they do because she ends up having a son. It's his son. And she dies in childbirth. He leaves to go do his wartime stuff, and he comes back, and too late. So he's like, okay, I'm claiming the child. I'm taking him back to England. I'm raising him like a civilized human being. I'm going to keep living here, though, because I can't, I don't know, man. Asha, I can never leave the place. His life changes for no reason. We go to Meitzel. Now, Meitzel is driving out into the Oasis. He's got a plan. What is his plan exactly now that he's found the Oasis? This is where it always falls apart for me. Everyone goes in with the same plan, but it always ends with, we found the Oasis. That's not the same as finding the treasure. It's hidden somewhere in the Oasis, anywhere. No clues at all as to where it might be. But he arrives there, and he brought his girlfriend with him, and he brought two people to help him dig. To help him dig where? Well, let's set up, and let's get to it. We gotta dig up the whole fucking Oasis. And they get out of the car. Again, another jump cut. He's like, let's get to work. And then we see their work, which has been to start a small fire. And we set up the tent. We set up a log that we can sit on. We got the truck situated over there. All right. Well, let's get to sleep, because tomorrow we got to do more work. He's got to go to bed. They drove out there to go to bed. So he's like, I got to go in the tent. Tasha, you coming with me? The two men sitting outside, they're like, well, we could sit here and listen to him try to have sex with her. I don't know. One of them goes, do you want to take a walk? And the other one goes, I don't know. I mean, they say you shouldn't walk around here at night. First of all, I'm like, who says that? Second of all, how is that applicable? It's bright as fucking day out. This is a day for night shot where they didn't use a filter. They're just like, it's nighttime now. It's time to play pretend. The sun's right there. The sky is blue. There's shadows. But it's nighttime now. Let's just say it's nighttime, okay? So they're scared. They're walking around. And then for no reason, I'm not really sure why, one of them just starts digging at the ground. Wait a minute, right here is where I need to start digging. And he takes out the pickaxe. He's hammering at the ground. What is he doing? I feel like there's treasure right here, okay? So let me dig. So he has to dig now. The other guy's like, I'm just gonna go look a little bit around. I'm hearing something strange. Are those zombies? And the zombies appear! We didn't see them last time. Now we get to see them. And the thing about the zombies in this movie is that they're not lazy. And when I say that, I mean the makeup is not lazy. I mean, they spent a lot of time putting this stuff on their faces. It's kind of like saying we're going to have a fashion show. All of the models are going to do their own makeup, and they're going to do their own clothes, too. They're going to do everything. So that when they come walking down the runway, it's going to look like a mishmash of all different ideas of, what a zombie might be, what a zombie would look like, how would I do it? And by the way, they do it in that way, in that whole, fashion runway. They come out of the darkness, and then they pause. We see them go into focus, and they're like, check out my mask! And then they walk forward. We do that for about 6 or 7 different zombies, just so we can, get introduced to them, see who they are. Some of the people we meet at this time, they're memorable, man, because their costumes, again, are very strange. There's a person who has put on a mask without eyes, so they poked holes in the mask where their eyes are, like little tiny pinholes. It's like they're trying to create some effect, but I'm not sure what it is. Then there's another dude who has taken it to a whole new level. He's like, no, I want eyeballs. In fact, I want them to be bigger than they are now. I want them to be more pronounced than they are now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a mask. Everyone makes masks. You're a corpse. Do you need to make a mask? Especially if it's going to look just like your face. So he's got these kind of eyes that are hanging out, but you can tell, again, that it's like half of a ping pong ball that they've kind of put in there. And it's got a blue eye drawn on it because this zombie has bright blue eyes after all this time. And it always has its mouth kind of hanging open. And you might say to yourself, well, doesn't that make him look dumb? Well, it looks even stupider when his mouth is closed somehow. He's got a weird face anyway, so he's walking around like, ah! Ah! It looks like someone gave him a colonoscopy and didn't warn him. Ah! So he's walking around, ah! Something blew up behind me and it made my eyeballs pop out and I died. Then we have a zombie that is, not really a person. It's more like a head on a stick. The top part of the skull, no jaw attached, with a stick, like a metal rod going up into it. And what you do is you hold it, and you maybe peek it up over sand dunes, and you kind of peek it up around trees, so we can't see anything down here. The zombie just always seems to be peeking around things. And that doesn't keep us from seeing how it's done either. I just described to you how it's done. You can see it. Like a stick comes out, and it's got a head on it. And it's moving as if it's thinking. They're like, you're dumb, right? You haven't figured out that this is just a skull on a stick. Come on, man. Woo, plunger. And they all got their own thing going on. And again, it's not for lack of trying. These zombies are putting in the effort. They're walking around spooky. They're being slow. They're falling over each other. I mean, their acting is fine, but they just look so fucking ridiculous. So they attack these guys, and, they're done for. And then we got to go back to the campsite. The fire's still going. Meitzel pops out, and he's like, oh my god, the living dead have appeared! Boys, don't you recognize me? They're not happy to see him, I guess. Or, I don't know, I don't think I would be happy. Tasha, or whatever, runs out. I forget what her name is. She's like, what's going on? And they jump on her. Take her, take her! And he gets into the truck and, I don't know, sits in there. He gets into the truck like he's escaping, but then he doesn't escape. I don't know what, but who cares, honestly, because the zombies don't care about him. They're like, it's okay, we got her. We want to eat her. It wasn't clear what they were going to do up to this point. It wasn't really necessarily a given that they were going to eat anyone. We're those kinds of zombies. We want vengeance, and we also remember that we like eating schnitzel, so we're going to eat her intestines. Ah! And you can tell that they're like ripping apart a chicken on top of her, and one of their heads is kind of in the way. This was a cut scene. We only see this scene in the Spanish version, because it's brutal. So the zombies are biting at her, she's, oh no, oh. You can tell one of them's nipping at her titty. And then we pan back over to see what Meitzel's doing, what her boyfriend's doing. He's still around? He's hanging out there. He's like, oh, okay, I got the car started. And then he drives off, and then he stops. I kind of thought that the film would cut, that we would cut to the next day, but it just keeps rolling. Oh, look, he stopped. 50 or 100 feet away, he stopped. Oh, he's getting out of the car. He's still in the Oasis. What is he doing? I don't feel good. And he's wandering around. Okay, so we cut. Robert is with his friends, and they're all hanging out in the dorm. I don't know where they are. They might be at a bar or something, and they're talking, and it's him, it's his girlfriend, and as well as Ahmed, and I think his name's Ben, but they're another friend of his. They're like, Ahmed, do you speak Middle Eastern? He's like, yes, well, I do look Middle Eastern, especially if you put these glasses on me and give me a fez. He might not be. I'm not sure. Again, they try to pass off a lot of people as being a different ethnicity in this film, so I would like to come with you, my friend. And he's like, well, I got the whole Scooby-Doo gang together. We're going to go down to Tangiers and we're going to look for treasure. Everyone's like, cool, we're going to put off our exams. We're going to delay our schooling by a year so we can go down there with you and go to the Oasis, Robert, and look for your dad's treasure. Do they know that his dad got killed over this? So they go down there, and they're chilling out, man. They're seeing the town. I wish I could tell you what town it was. It's kind of an interesting place. It's green. It's very green. I am kind of wondering why I'm looking at this and why I'm looking at it for so long. We're kind of meandering around the streets, looking at different booths, trying on scarves, hats, looking at small wooden things. I'm like, okay, these guys are having a great day, and it's fun. But what does this have to do with anything? So they're walking around being stupid. They go into a mosque. They meet up with some people that are filming it and recording the dude who's... This guy, I mean, wow, you hear those pipes? You see, these guys are friends with Erica and the professor. All right, Erica and the professor. I'm guessing that they just live here. I'm not sure who these people are or what they do. They don't really explain themselves very well. Then this happens. As they're talking, I mean, you kind of wonder, like, why are we being introduced to Erica? Who is she? Why, these people filming this dude doing the call to prayer, why are we talking to these people? Well, why are we doing any of this? And then someone runs up and they're like, Erica, you and the professor needed a man. Just came back from the desert and he's all bloody and he's delirious and he's saying something about the living dead. Would you guys like to come along, you young people, and see what we're doing? So they drive off to Meitzel's house. It's Meitzel, right? Okay, so I'm going to let you know right now that we're told later that this Oasis is at least 100 miles away from any town. I find it really hard to believe that Meitzel got out of his car and walked all the way home. He's all bloody and covered in cuts and bruises for... Oh, and here's an interesting thing. They pull up outside his compound, outside his house, and he inside hears it. Well, I better go answer the door. And he gets up and starts walking out. Now, he's already got someone at the front gate to greet them. I think it's Bob Ross or some dude who looks just like him. He's like, yes, he is inside. I stand at the front gate and help him from here. He's in the courtyard wandering around with a giant wound in his neck. Again, I don't know where that came from. And scratch marks all over his face, and he's bloody, and he's screaming, and Bob is up there doing paintings at the fucking gate. Like, yeah, I just stand here while he's down there. Don't exert yourself. That guy only walked 100 miles through the fucking Sahara Desert to get back here. And they go down to give him help. That's not what they do. They don't even make any attempt to help him. They just watch him. As if their stares are healing. And I mean, everybody does it. Not one person steps forward out of any of these different groups of people. He's just spinning around like someone being chased by ghosts. And he's walking like a crab. He's doing a sidewalk. So they can tell he's taking them somewhere. They're like, well, we better follow him and continue to watch his freak out. And he goes and goes. He almost falls in a well, but then that doesn't happen. And then he falls back onto some... he's like on a pile of sticks and and reeds and other debris. I think it might be a garbage pile. And he thrashes for a little bit, and then he dies. Oh, it's over? They just watched it happen, and it took like 20 minutes. Well, I think now is about time to stoop on down and see if he's okay. he's not okay. Oh, and by the way, Bob knows why. He comes walking on in, and he's like, if I can be of any help, it would appear from the things he was saying, which was all nonsense talk, that he has encountered the Walking Dead. Where that could have happened, I don't know. I'm only Bob Ross, and the people who were recording the dude saying the call to prayer are now recording him. We record anybody saying anything. So they're like, what can we do? You know, he died. Well, let's just set him on fire where he fell. And so that's what they do. They set that heap of shit that he fell on, they set it on fire with his body on it and watch him burn. That's the end of him. And that's how I want to go, man. Wherever I drop, I just want you to put sticks on me and like that, man, right where I drop. It's part of my religion. Bob tells us this fire will purify him, or it'll cleanse him. Was he unclean? Why did he die? I don't know what's going on. And he's like, nobody will, because we fucking burned his body 2 seconds after he died. We set it on fire, and we reduced it to bone ash. I mean, we look later, there's nothing left. Nothing left. It's just a black spot on the ground shaped like him. He's been vaporized. And why do they all stand around watching? We get this shot of Erica looking through the flames, and she's like, oh, geez. Oh, Ben. Now, this is not Robert. Again, this is not the leader of the group. This is not Blabbert's son, Robert Blabbert. This is, like, one of his friends, and she's like, well, he's getting me kind of turned on, and ooh, the fire's going. Maybe I'll scooch on over. Hey, do you like the smell of burning flesh and eyeballs? Does it get you turned on? Yeah. Do you want to go swimming? Maybe out in a lake somewhere? Next thing, it's morning, and they're swimming around in the lake, and I gotta say, the way they do the cinematography is good, but it seems a little random. It seems a little extra. And then someone starts calling to him. I honestly can't remember if it was the professor or if it's Robert, but someone's like, get out of the pool! We have to go! And, well, I guess you'll have to snuggle these sweaty titties some other time. Gotta go digging for treasure. So Robert and his friends set out. They've got all the gear that they need. They've got cans of gasoline. They've got pickaxes. They got their cowboy boots on. They've got nice sunglasses. They've got cream rinse for their faces and their hair and all that kind of stuff. So they're set. And they get out there. It takes a while. And for some reason, Erica is there with the professor. And the two people that we saw earlier, they're all there. They snuck out there to... What are they doing out there? I don't recall them ever explaining why they're suddenly out there and why they got there first. What's going on? Yeah, they find Erica out there. She's laying on the ground. And the professor pops up from behind a bush and is like, the zombies! The zombies! And he falls into the sand. He'll be fine. And those guys, though, with the camera and the tape recorder, yeah, they're not kicking. So I think we should probably cut to a very vague, ambiguous shot of us digging 2 holes next to their bodies in the sand. Really? You guys are gonna bury them in the sand? Like it's a grave? A very, very shallow grave, I might add. There's some weird thing in this movie where when people die, we have to get rid of them like we're Borg or something. We vaporize our dead. But this time, yeah, we're not going to set them on fire because we don't have any matches. We're going to bury them. So, yeah, don't lay on the ground unconscious for too long. Erica wakes up. The professor, wakes up, or the doctor, whatever. And they both say, there's zombies here. But we don't need to leave that bad. Ben, you and I have some business to discuss in the tent when there's time. They fought the living dead. They just don't really feel like leaving. They don't even feel like taking the goddamn truck that they drove out there in. There's a truck There's a truck. Okay, just the whole time I talk about the rest of the movie, you need to remember there's a truck nearby with keys in it, the ignition running, and a bunch of gasoline. I don't want to take the truck. And when I leave, I want to go with everybody. I want everyone to crowd onto the truck all at once. And I don't want it to be today or even tonight. Maybe when we found the treasure. Just there's no impetus to leave. They scream a bunch at first, but I don't know. It's like they woke up and they were like, yeah, thinking back on it, I'm not sure if it was the living dead. Well, let's just get set to work then. Let's forget about this. Let's get on to finding the treasure. And so they get to work. And I gotta say, man, from here on out, the movie descends into pure stupidity. I mean, people are doing shit that makes no sense, coming up with moronic plans, dumb ideas, weird reactions to things that don't follow. And other things happen too. The zombies do things that don't make a lot of sense. It's just chaos. It's Calvin Ball. And this is where it starts. We get a nice pan throughout the Oasis of all of the different people and how they're contributing to finding the treasure. Again, where are they looking? Just anywhere, I guess. So we look over to the hillside. We see two of them digging. They're digging! They're putting a bunch of energy into just digging into the sand somewhere. They have no leads as to if they should dig there, but they're both going at it. They have a feeling. And then we cut, okay, we pan over, we see Ahmed, and he's using a pickaxe in the sand. He looks like my friend Thomas, back when he used to chop wood when he was 10. So he's picking at the ground, he's mining for something. And then we shift a little further over to the girls, and what are they doing? Well, they're walking around with sticks, kind of smacking at the bushes, kind of... I can't even tell you what they're doing. I can't even venture a guess. It doesn't even look like they're looking for anything, at least not in any serious sense. It's not up on top of the bushes anywhere. And by the way, why does it take two of them in a line to do this? Is Erica behind Robert's girlfriend just to make sure she didn't miss anything with her stick? So they're all moving around, essentially doing nothing. They're doing nothing. They have no plan. And by the way, nightfall is coming. And it's getting cold, it's getting dark. I don't know, at a certain point, I guess they're like, maybe we should pack it up, put it away. Ben, Erica, where are you guys going? They're like, oh, we're going off to the tent just to talk about some things. And they get in there and immediately they start making out and they start having sex. This goes on for a really long time, I have to say. And I don't know. I'm not convinced they're really having sex. I'm going to throw that out there. I don't feel like they're really having sex. There's just not a lot of movement going on with these guys. And Erica, again, I thought that she would be bothered by the night, but instead she's hot and bothered. She's not thinking about zombies right now. Ooh, wait, Ben, where are you going? Why are you leaving me here unsatisfied? And he's like, I'm sorry, I gotta get back to the others. What are you talking about, the others? It's 2 a.m. They're sleeping, I gotta get back to them. I'm gonna be missed if I'm not back at the tent sleeping with them. Oh, okay, well, tell me, are you more excited about the money or me? No, you don't have to answer that. No, don't. Lover boy. Why don't you go get back to sleeping with the boys or whatever. Ahmed is out, or Ahmed, or whatever. He's out, he's walking around, and he's like, guys, it's night out now. Do you see? The film got a little grayer. I'll say that this is day for night for sure, but it's not as bad as it was earlier, so it looks a little bit more like nighttime. And he goes up onto a ridge. He's feeling strange, he's hearing organ music, and he's like, well, that's weird. Is someone playing the harmonium out here? And he peeks over the ridge, and he sees footprints all over the place, And he's like, that's just the crew. Again, when we're never really alone in the desert with dunes that just continue on into nothingness. There's always tracks and trails of people walking around. Oh, wait. Those are the zombies! They're awakening! And you can see sand shifting. Ah! People are coming back from the dead. They're crawling out from under the sand. And then Ahmed turns around and there's someone standing there. You know, the guy with the eyeballs falling out of his head or whatever, at least he was putting some effort into it. He was being creative. This guy, he's got like mud on his face. He put mud on his face, and that's all he did. Mud and a worm. He's making a dumb expression. And Ahmed, he starts screaming his head off for no reason. Does he think this is a zombie? What does this mean? He's just like, ah! I don't recognize you! Woo! And a bunch of zombies pounce on him and they eat him. And it's like, well, bummer. They ate Marianne. And everyone else in the camp has been alerted to the presence of the zombies because they're quiet. They sneak up on you. Now that they're aware of the zombie situation, everyone gets out of the tent, or their tents, rather. They're all kind of in one spot. And they look around. And the professor's like, quick! Start a fire! Fire is the only thing that stops them! We have to hold out until dawn! Okay, first of all, how does he know that fire stops them? Does it stop them? I'm not convinced. And he contradicts himself because it's not the only thing that stops them. He just said we have to hold out till daylight stops them. He's like, start a fire, just do something that involves fire because they're afraid of it. And then the sunlight will come and they'll disappear. And so they run over to the truck and they grab all of the kerosene and gasoline that's for the truck. No, and they bring it back over to the tent. And I'm like, what are they going to do with this? Are they going to set it on fire? Are they going to make Molotov cocktails? What could they possibly do with the gasoline they took from the truck? The guy takes it and he starts pouring it in a line in the sand around the encampment. Just into the sand, disappears. Well, we better go get some more kerosene. And so they run back, they get more, setting up this wall of fire, this ring of fire he's trying to create. And you know what he does, though? He's like, okay, I've poured a large circle of gasoline around the entire encampment, and I'm going to use a match, drop it in, and now there's a ring of fire! And, you know, poor Erica, she was outside the ring getting a gas can. One of the zombies grabbed her. And again, she's all sexed up. I mean, she's tired from fucking. So she's like, oh no! I really have to stress that she says it exactly like that. Ronald, no! Ah! Or her voiceover actress does that. And the professor, he's like, Erica, no! And he runs through the fire and jumps over there. And we get this weird shot all of a sudden where we cut to a zombie, get another one crawling out of the ground to, I don't know, throw a wrench into the situation. We cut to this, and the guy is coming out of the ground. He's got like a skull mask on. It's not even paint or anything. He's just got a skull mask on, and he's getting up, but you can tell that the wire or the string is getting caught on something because it's shifting. It's getting stuck. Ow! Ah! So we get a very quick shot of that. We're like, oh my god, there's more zombies coming up, and they're getting stuck in the sand. The professor is being eaten, I suppose. Ben jumps outside of the circle. Why did they make this gigantic ring of fire if no one's going to stay inside of it? Ben jumps outside to go fight the zombies. The zombies get him too. Erica goes and gets into the car and then sits there. She just sits there. She's getting eaten. You are in the goddamn car. The keys are right there. Start it up. Drive out the way you came in. No, I have to die in the car. So she dies in the Jeep. She gets bitten. She gets eaten. That's it. 2 people died trying to save her, too. It was hopeless. And at this point, it's kind of chaos. Again, the zombies are kind of doing their own thing just like the humans are. They're obeying their own rules. We're watching the smoking ring of fire. There's tons of smoke coming out of this. Huge flames. I don't know where this is coming from. This doesn't seem physically possible. I don't know who they think they're kidding. Oh, and in the background, by the way, I mean, some of the zombies are like, fire bad! But there are zombies that are really far in the background that are just like falling over. Like, we see this one guy go, ah, and he falls on the ground and kind of rolls around. Why is that guy doing that? What's he doing over there? So this one zombie is having kind of a panic attack. And then we cut to some other zombies doing air spins. I think it's supposed to look like there was an explosion and they're being blown back by the impact, but there's no explosion. There's no explosion. There's not even a flash of light. So it doesn't involve Robert or his girlfriend. They're the only ones left, standing in the dead center of this gigantic fire circle that they've created. And some of the zombies, they're not deterred. You know, he says they're afraid of fire, but I don't really get that sense. Some of them, I mean, they get the torch into their face. They get that close, and they're like, "Arr!" You know, they'll be like, "Oh, stop it, no!" And they'll walk back, and then it will be, like, fucking editor, will cut it with a shot of, like, a dummy falling over into the fire and crackling and burning up, and again, the dummy doesn't even look remotely like the zombie that it's supposed to be. Just, something falls over and gets burned up. Okay. Now, not all of the zombies are dead. There's still zombies wandering around. And there's a couple of zombies that got knocked over, again, because they were doing air spins. And so there's zombies laying around. And then the sun comes. Here comes the sun. Do-do-do-do. I was to understand they just went to bed, but yeah, the sun is coming out. And again, they kind of have to be really explicit about that because it's very bright out. I mean, it's nighttime, and the only reason I even get that sense is because everything is tinged blue. It's not really because there's any less light out. But now it's daytime, so zombies, it's time to do your thing, man. You either now or never. And some of the zombies standing outside of the fire circle, they're like, well, we're going to disappear. And they vaporize, they fade away. Bye! But not all of them. Some of the zombies are laying over on the ground still. They haven't disappeared. Why not? They're dead? What kind of weird logic are we operating to? Some of the zombies, their bodies remain behind because they're dead zombies. But the living zombies, they vaporized. They went away. Did we defeat them? I don't get the sense we did. But we survived until morning. Ooh. Well, the professor is dead. He was the biggest dumbass out of anybody here because well, except maybe Erica. So they leave the circle, and then they collapse. They collapse just somewhere because then we cut to them, and they're laying in the sand on their faces. Again, his girlfriend in her cowboy boots, laying there. We see a camel coming up over the ridge, and it's Asha's father! It's his grandpa! He talked to them a little earlier. I might not have mentioned it. It wasn't that important. It wasn't very sweet. It wasn't very warm and cuddly, I have to say. They met each other, and he was just like, hey, I'm Asha's dad, and Asha's your mom. I guess that makes me your gramps. So when he comes up in his camel, he's like, my son, have you found what you were looking for? I don't know. Maybe. I still got my girlfriend. That's something. Yes, everything turned out well. Follow me home. And he turns around and starts walking off, and we cut to a shot of the guy on the camel, and he's being followed by the Jeep, and it's got Robert and his girlfriend in it. Okay, I guess we'll stop being dead in the sand now, and we'll go and get back in the car, and we'll drive off with you. Did he need to come to just wake them the fuck up to tell them, hey, come back to town, don't die? I mean, they drove out there. They can drive back. They don't need him to show them where to go. Nothing about that makes any sense. And by the way, he also doesn't ask where anybody else is. He's like, yeah, they're all dead, right? And so we go into this long end shot of the Jeep with the weird license plate that looks all fucked up, driving off alongside the guy on the camel. And fucking editor, following cars as they drive off into the distance is not interesting. And just holding it on that, it's not good enough. And I kept thinking maybe there's going to be credits. Maybe we're going to get credits over this. They'll start rolling, but no. Oh, and by the way, at a certain point, the Jeep gets stuck in the sand. Don't get close to my camel! This is very interesting, but why are we still seeing it? The movie should have ended 30 seconds ago. And then it just cuts. Oasis of the zombies. Again, once they got to the Oasis, the story fell apart. There was no end to that movie. It was just the characters need to die. Well, okay, I guess we'll let Robert and his girlfriend live, even though they had no story of any kind. I mean, they were kind of passive observers to everything, the drama. They weren't involved in any of it, but they survived for some reason. And the Oasis remains haunted, I guess. And that's it. And they were involved in a bunch of murders. Man, these guys, real Amanda Knoxes. It's a terrible movie. It's about 90 minutes long, a little less. And I would suggest watching it because it's a hoot and a holler. I can't tell you how many times you'll notice somebody got something bit off of them, they turn around, it's still there, or how many times you'll see slip-ups in continuity with signs, and we'll be like, oh, yeah, I don't think that we're in Morocco because I'm seeing a lot of Latin written on those signs back there. It looks more like we're in Turkey, maybe, or Spain. You'll see things like that littered all throughout the film. But again, it's atmospheric, I'll give it that. The scenes of the zombies moving around in the Oasis, especially when they're not interacting with people, can be actually kind of eerie. Combine that with the weird organ music that they're constantly playing. But other than that, man, it's a pretty silly ride. Oasis of the Zombies by Jess Franco.